Hello and welcome to the Winchester Archives, a supernatural podcast. I'm Ed,
I'm Brooke.
and today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 15, The Benders. But before we get going, here's a quick spoiler warning. We will be connecting dots across the entire series, so if you're watching Supernatural for the first time or have not finished it yet, please do so before you listen to this, because we talk about it all the time. And finally, as well, before we get going, an explicit content warning. We are adults talking about an adult show that deals with dark and sensitive topics. Expect adult language, mature discussion, and dark humor. And I'm going to talk to you about a serial killer's murder. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I have something I want to add because I didn't put it in the notes. This should be one of our last updates about where Supernatural is moving to, because the day this podcast comes out, like this podcast episode comes out, is the day I know for a fact it'll be on Amazon Prime Video because they have a countdown on their website.
Yeah, so we know at least one place it's going.
Yes, it doesn't say Peacock doesn't have anything listed yet, but we can assume it'll be on there the same day.
Yeah, it's heavily speculated that would be the case.
Mhm,
So yeah, we don't have to interrupt our podcast and your guys is following us along with us very often or very long.
mhm.
I also did want to throw out there apologies for the really weirdly inconsistent upload schedule the past little bit. I've been getting sick repeatedly, and I just was like out sick with the flu for like a week, and it made it really hard to record when every 5 seconds I was clearing my throat. You can probably tell a
Mhm.
little bit. I'm still a little nasally, but I'm feeling good, so we should be fine. But if you hear me clear my throat, I apologize, and it should be edited out, but it might not be.
Yeah, I'll try my best to get all of that out.
But yes, just wanted to apologize for that inconsistency. We're trying to be better in the new year about being more consistent with it. It just, sometimes you get the flu
Mhm.
2 weeks after each other.
All right, so let's move on to our episode specs. So the air date for this episode was February 14th, 2006, Valentine's Day. Not a very Valentine's Day episode. It was written by John Scheiman and directed by Peter Ellis. Our supporting cast is Jessica Steen as Kathleen,
Mhm.
Alexia Fast as Missy, and I mention her because Alexia comes back as another character in season 7.
I really like doing that.
Yes. So this episode opens with a man disappearing into what seems like thin air. While Dean and Sam are discussing what this could be, Sam steps outside and he gets taken. Dean teams up with a cop who also had a family member go missing. A lot of stuff happens in between, and there's like a
Mhm.
twist. So I'm not going to say it here yet. And then they find Sam and the brothers leave town. And with that said, you can listen to us on all major podcast platforms, watch along on YouTube. You can support our show on Patreon at patreon.com/Winchester Archives Podcast. There's a lot of perks, like our Discord community and digital art and our archive addendum episodes, which one is coming out very soon.
Yes.
And there's also the free tier. I'm going to mention that anybody can join our Discord community.
We're also on Instagram and TikTok at Winchester Archive Pod. Also, if you haven't already, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, do all the things, press all the buttons, rate us 5 stars on whatever broadcast platform you're listening to us on, all the things to help keep growing our community of archivists. So now, all that, all the, uh, what they call housekeeping out of the way. Brooke, let's get into the actual episode here, which is a really weird one for Supernatural.
Yes, it is. All right. So we start off in Hibbing, Minnesota, where we see a young boy watching TV and he is very scared of whatever he's watching.
Mhm.
It sounds like an action movie, but he swears he hears something in real life that sounds like the movie.
Mhm.
And then he looks out his window and he sees someone go outside to take out the trash. And then he sees this man looking around. It's like he heard something, so he looks for it, and the subtitles, when this sound happens, they said it sounded like it has chain sounds, which is
Mhm.
interesting because to me, that did not sound like chain.
Oh, that's interesting because I did think of it as a chain.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I just thought it was like a grumble.
Yeah, no, it could have
Um,
been like a growl or something too. Like, it could have been something like that, but to me, it sounded kinda like someone dragging something,
mhm. Oh,
which I assume that's what happened. I assume they, like, take chains out from underneath the car and, like, grab the legs and pull, like, that's my guess
mhm.
as to how they actually do the kidnapping, but
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this man gets pulled under a car by seemingly nothing.
yeah, good setup to initially set us off as, like, "Oh, it's a ghost or a monster."
So now we flash forward some time, and the brothers are at that boy's house. His
Mhm.
mother, Mrs. McKay, says the police have been around all week and she doesn't want her son to have to keep reliving and retelling the story.
Fair.
Yeah, exactly. And this boy's name is Evan, but he says he wants to tell him the story. So he
Mhm.
does. And he says he was watching Godzilla versus Mothra.
Hell yeah, little kid. Godzilla vs. Mothra, awesome movie. I used to watch that stuff as a kid too. I would be right here with Dean nerding out with this kid.
Yes, because Dean chuckles and says that's his favorite Godzilla movie. And
Dean
then,
has some good taste.
yeah, and then he points at Sam and says, like, he likes the remake or something like that.
Yeah.
And even the kid's like, ew,
Yeah, it's great.
which I don't think it's true because Sam looks at him like, what?
Yeah. He was just trying to bond with the kid is the way I, like, took that. And then
Yeah.
Dean being Dean kinda takes it just, like, one step too far where it's just like, "Okay, this is a weird behavior for a cop."
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
Again, just one of the reasons why we love Dean.
And after Evan is done telling his story, they go to Google Google's Heg Bar. Sam says their dad marked this town as a place with a phantom attacker. And in local folklore, it said the attacker comes out at night, grabs people, then vanishes.
Mhm.
And this county in Minnesota has had more people missing per capita than anywhere else in the state.
Which is interesting too, because like, this is I didn't put this in the notes, but this is just an interjection based off of, like, the what this episode's named of after, the Benders. Just a random side note, when I was reading about them, the actual Benders, which we'll get into a little bit later into more detail, but they actually were also in a place that had a very strangely high number of missing people that came through that town in that area, but it wasn't in
Wow.
Minnesota, it was in Kansas. But
Yeah.
they also had it was like a weird coincidence that they all had, you know, this weird disappearance rate.
Yeah. It should raise a red flag.
Yeah, and it did, and that's how they eventually got caught.
Okay. So something funny here happens. Sam says they should go to the motel that they saw driving in, and Dean says they should have one more round. And Sam says
Mhm.
they need to get an early start. So Dean says, "You sure know how to have fun, huh, Grandma?"
It's again, just like even when this episode overall, the ratings of this episode, I didn't this is not my favorite episode.
Mhm.
Um, but there was one thing that it had going for it. It had some pretty good one-liners in this one, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Some
definitely
pretty decent
does.
banter, all things considered.
So we see Sam walking out to the car and he hears that same noise as in the beginning. And for
Mhm.
some reason, he also decides to look under the car.
Which, like, I get, but also, like, not because, like, if you think someone's under the car or something's under the car, you don't get on your hands and knees and look under the car.
No, I would not. I'd probably just walk away, like back
Well,
in.
what you do is you back up a lot and then look under the car
That would also make sense.
because then you're not in, like, striking range of whatever's there.
But instead of Sam getting taken, it shows us a cat. It's a little jump
Mhm.
scare
The
to the
fake
cat.
jump scare, yeah.
But then again, the post captioning said chain noises, and that wasn't a cat. So
Mhm.
we see the camera under the car zoom in and out on Dean's feet, so we can assume something else is under there, like watching his feet.
Yeah, someone's looking at Sam's feet.
Mhm. Then we see Dean come outside and Sam's stuff is still on the hood of the car, but Sam is not around.
Yep, not good.
No, Dean is like panicking and asking around if people have seen Sam and like he's calling for him as well. So now Dean is at the police station pretending to be a cop named Officer Washington.
Yep, gotta get more of those, criminal felonies of impersonating a cop.
Yes, this is his favorite thing to do. Well, both of them.
Mhm. They do like pretending to be cops or FBI agents, huh?
Mhm. He tells them he's working a missing persons case for his cousin, and he says his cousin's name is Sam Winchester. And the cop says, like the rifle? And then Dean says, yep, like the rifle. And very fun fact, this is the only time that's mentioned in the whole show.
Which is insane to me. Like, I can't
Mhm.
believe that that's the case because, like, that's the joke. That's why their name is that, is so you can make that reference. The fact they use guns all the time. Like,
Mhm.
how is this only mentioned once in season 1?
I
I feel like that's gotta be a running gag when they say their actual names. Like, "I'm Sam, I'm Dean Winchester." They're like, "Oh, like the gun?" Like, that should just be like a thing, you think.
the only reason I can think of, because I didn't really look for an actual answer, and I can for, like, our next episode. But the only thing I can think of or speculate is that maybe they thought that joke would get old quickly, and it kind of would from a
Yeah,
audience
but I feel like
perspective.
that's kind of the joke though, I think.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying, like, I'm surprised that a, weekly television show wouldn't make that joke over and over again regardless
That's
of if it,
true.
worked or not.
Maybe a couple times a season since there's, like, 20 plus episodes a
That's what I
season.
mean. At least, like, at some point, but
Nope, just this
hey,
one time, and then they had some random cop say it, not even, like, anybody else we see,
yeah.
like any other hunters they meet or whatever. Okay, then the cop says, "You realize his brother Dean died in St. Louis and was a suspect of murder?" And then Dean says, "Yeah, Dean was the black sheep of the family. Pretty handsome, though."
I love that he just throws that in and gives her a look, and she just looked at him so confused, like, "What?"
It's like, why would you say
Yes, like, why would you say that?
that? Especially when you're trying to say, like, this is your cousin.
Yeah, it just makes you look so suspicious.
Yes, and weird.
Yeah.
If you're not suspicious, that's just weird.
Mhm.
And I'd be like, "Why do you wanna find your other cousin?"
Yeah, are you, like, a serial killer?
So she tells Dean that he needs to do this the proper way by filling out a missing persons report, and he can't go with her to look at traffic cam footage. Dean
Mm,
then says Sam is his responsibility and he's going to make sure he comes back. Now we see Sam in a very small cage. Like he can't even stand up all the way. Okay, but I do also want to throw in here because I didn't write this down. But Jared Padalecki is like 6'3" and like he could almost stand up all the way. It was like his upper back is what needed to be hunched over, so I guess it wasn't a small cage. A normal sized person would be able to stand up
yeah,
fully.
it's actually a pretty reasonably sized cage for, the purpose of these of holding people. Seems a pretty reasonably sized. Usually, you'd probably just get, like, a dog kennel and be like, "Good luck."
Yeah,
These kidnappers apparently give them a little bit more leg room.
yeah,
Give 'em, like,
exactly.
a full-ass human cage.
So then he sees this guy in another cage, that the same one from the beginning, just like knocked
Mhm,
out next to him. Then we go back to Dean, and the officer is showing Dean the images from the traffic cam outside of the bar. And they find the plates on the car are new, but the car is super old. So it's likely the plates have been changed, like, without registration.
mm.
Then right as they figure this out, a really old van drives by that sounds like the chain noise that was happening from the beginning.
Yeah, it's just a really bad backfiring car.
Yes,
Like,
like
it
a
is
motor.
struggling.
Like, they should get a new car or at least replace whatever's happening.
Yeah, that engine does not seem like it's working very well.
No. No. So now we're back to Sam, and he's using all of his energy trying to open this cage. The
Mhm.
guy from the beginning wakes up, says he doesn't know where they are, and Sam confirms that this is Alvin Jenkins, and he's the guy that went missing. He says he was looking for him, and Jenkins says, "No offense, but this is a piss poor rescue."
which is accurate. It is a bad rescue so far.
Yes. He's very angry, and I guess it's understandable.
Yeah, I'd be irritated at everything around me if I got kidnapped.
And then the person next to you is like, "I was actually trying to save you." And it's like, "Oh, great.
Like, thanks.
No one's coming to save us then because you ended up in here." Now people in like hoods and cloaks walk in, and it seems they can open the gate with nothing. Like they can just unlock the locks. At least that's what we're seeing from like right now. They gave Alvin food and they left, and he told Sam they feed him once per day.
Yeah.
Now we're back to
Yeah, that's
Dean.
one thing that I real quick, that's one thing that I do think that they did a good job of in this episode, of making it seem like there's something supernatural happening,
Mhm.
when, spoiler alert, for, like, 5 minutes from now, there's not.
No.
The entire name of the entire series is a misnomer for this episode. It's just people, and it's like, I think they do a good job of doing that with, like, the automated locks and, like,
Mhm.
with, like, them disappearing under the car without showing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I do
And then the
agree.
hoods, like, they're trying to set up, like, "Ooh, are they like a psychic cult or some shit?"
'Cause, like yeah, because at this point, you're still thinking, like, "Oh, it's something supernatural, like, what are they doing? Are they, like,
Yeah, because it's supernatural.
sacrifices or what's
Yeah.
going on?"
Is this through, like, a demon god, or, like, what are we what's the catch here? We already had,
Mhm.
like, the village that, like, sacrificed elder gods, like, you know,
Mhm.
what angle we going with on this one?
Now we go back to Dean, and he's with the cop in her car, and she lets him know that she ran his badge number,
Uh-oh.
and she found out his badge was stolen along with a picture of him, and
Yeah.
the real Gregory popped up, and it is definitely not Dean.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, a black man.
It's like a heavy set black man,
Yeah, not even close.
And Dean was like, "I lost some weight, and I have that disease Michael Jackson had or has because he was still alive then."
Yeah, which is just wild.
Yes.
Well, I said this episode had some good lines, even though it was just like, "What is happening?"
Yep.
Dean just cracked me
But,
up.
she's not falling for it. She's like, "Okay, I have to arrest you
Yeah,
now."
understandably so.
Yeah. But Dean very sadly is like pleading for this officer to not arrest him until he finds Sam. Like he's like, "You can
Yeah.
arrest me. It's fine, but let me find Sam first,
Yeah.
then arrest me." And he
Mhm.
says when they were young, he pulled Sam out from a fire, and ever since then, he has felt it was his responsibility to keep Sam safe. So from
Mhm.
4 years old plus, Dean has had like a parental responsibility to his brother,
Mhm.
which is sad. But the cop isn't budging, and
Mhm.
she says she has no choice but to take him in. But then after a moment and her looking at a photo, she adds, "After we find Sam Winchester." Dun, dun,
Dean's just very good
dun.
at convincing people to be on his side.
Yes, he passed his persuasion check.
Mhm.
So now back to Sam and Alvin. Sam pulled this like hose off the ceiling, and basically, as soon as that happens, Jenkins' door opens, like his cage door just opens by itself.
Yeah, it looked almost like an electrical cord or something to me. Made me
Yeah,
think that it, like, short circuited at first.
yeah, that makes sense. And Alvin gets out, and Sam tells him to get back in there because he's just like, "This is a trap that was too convenient. Like, why wouldn't my
Mhm.
door open?" Like that stuff. He's
Yeah.
like, "Get back in your cage and stay in there."
Yeah, something doesn't look right.
No. And Jenkins is like, "Nope, I'm leaving. I have a chance to leave. I will go get us help, and I'll come back for you."
Yeah.
Okay. Which, like, I don't entirely blame him because as soon as you have an opportunity to escape, you're going to.
Yep, and then that's exactly what they wanted.
Yeah. So as he's running, this is kind of where we find out the turn of what's happening this episode. So as he's
Mhm.
running, somebody on the property finds him, and they're basically playing chase now, and he picks up a weapon, but Jenkins doesn't know the woods like these people do, right?
Yeah.
So he ends up being stabbed in a leg with the spear, and he's still trying to run, but he's having a bad time. And then he trips over a wire, and then they kill him.
Yeah. It was brutal too when they stabbed him in the leg with the spear. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, that would suck.
brutal."
So now we're back to Dean, and it is the next day. And he says, "Officer, I don't want to press my luck." And she says, "Your luck is so pressed.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, maybe just keep your mouth shut."
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, Dean asks why she's helping him. And she says her brother went missing 3 years ago, a lot like how Sam did. So she has like a
Mhm.
personal investment in this case.
Mhm.
Dean has her pull off where there's a road in the trees. And she says Dean can't come with her, but Dean is like insisting that he come. She asks him to promise he won't get involved. And he says these promises, but when they shake on it, she handcuffs him to the car.
Yeah, smart the hell out of him.
Even in an interview I listened to with her, she was like, "I love how it's like a fade to black." Like, she puts the cuffs on him, and then the scene transition, we see her walking him up to the car. So she was like, "What happened in between? No one knows, because they were probably like 5, 10 feet away from the car.
Mhm.
So not only did she get the thing on him, she, like, wrestled him back to the car.
Yeah. But it's fun it's a funny shot though when you cut back into the scene of Dean being like, "God dang it," like, gonna up
Yeah.
to the door of the car.
Yes, exactly. And then she locks it so he can't open the handle.
Yeah.
And Dean here says he needs to start carrying paper clips, which is funny
Mhm.
because in the first episode, he uncuffs himself with a paper clip from John's journal.
Yep.
So obviously he knows how to do it. He just doesn't carry paper clips on him.
Yeah, he needs to start. Have
Hmm.
a box of those things in your pocket.
So Kathleen, who's the officer, walks up to the house asking if anyone is home. Then we see a very dirty, scary looking little girl answer the door.
Genuinely, the most horrifying part of this whole episode is this little girl. She is, like, such a she's so good at just being creepy. Like, the look on her
Hmm.
face is just like her she does, like, a thing with her eyes where she just, like, looks dead inside. Like, it's crazy. And then, like, later on when she has a knife and is, like, playing with it, she just looks insane, and it's
Yes.
so good. Like, I'm saying all this as a huge compliment to this, like, child actor who, like, knows the assignment and fucking nailed it.
Yes, she did such a great job.
Yeah, Missy is a horrifying little girl.
Yes, exactly. She really is. And even people say, like, people who, like the showrunners say she was like the most terrifying person on set.
Yeah, she's the scariest character in this show, or in this episode of the show, like, hands down. The rest of the people look like normal people.
They were like,
She looks not.
they were like, "Hey, we need you to be like weird and scary." And she was like, "Got it."
Yeah, and nailed it.
Mhm. So, Kathleen hands Missy a photo of Sam and asks if she's seen him, and she's just looking at it, and then she looks up and smiles, and Kathleen is like, "Well, what, sweetie? Like, what do you know?" And then she says, "That's gonna hurt," and then Kathleen gets hit in the head with a shovel.
Which I love again, there's very good lines in this episode. That was another one I was like, "That's funny."
Dean is trying to reach for the car's antenna to try to use it to pick the lock,
Which
and
is crazy because there's no way that thing actually worked to pick a lock. I'm sorry. There's no way.
yeah. I know. I was like, "I don't think that's gonna work, but I guess do what you gotta do to try, I guess."
Yeah. No, it works for, like, a show, but there's no I just cannot believe that that thing could have fit into a lock of a a cup.
Mhm.
Even with him pulling the top bit off, like, I don't know, man, if that would work. That thing seemed way too bendy to function as a lockpick.
Yeah, I think it would've broke.
I just would think it would have bent and not, like, done it what it
Mm.
was supposed to.
Yeah, that too. And as he's, like, struggling to reach it and to get it off the car and unlocking it, he hears that old truck drive by, and he
Mhm.
barely gets to the antenna, but he does, and he picks the lock, and the 2 people in that family find her car, but he is not there,
Yeah.
so they don't see him.
Which again, very good shot,
Mhm.
of, like, the anticipation building shot of, like, "Oh,
Yes.
no, he has to do it very quick," and then, like, he's failing, and then, like, he's gone. Like, that's a classic shot in a lot of
Mhm.
these kinda shows, but it's a really good one for, like, building tension and being like, "Oh, okay, we're good."
Especially because, like, he grabs it well, first of all, it was just, like, a little out of range, and then he grabs it, and then he drops it, and it's just like, "Oh, no."
Yeah, they did a very good job of tension building with this scene.
Yes, and now we cut back to Kathleen, and she's in the other cage by Sam, where
Mhm.
Jenkins was.
Yeah.
She asks if she says, like, "Are you Sam Winchester?" And he says, "Yes," and then she says, "Your cousin is looking for you." And then she goes, "But sadly, I cuffed him to my car." But now we see Dean walk into the building, and Kathleen asks how he got out of the cuffs, and Dean just says, "I know a trick or two." And
So good.
Dean says he's seen a lot of cars, so it's likely when they take someone, they also take their car. And Kathleen asks about her brother's car, and Dean says he did see it.
Mhm.
So it basically confirms her brother is not around anymore.
Yeah, it's very much implied.
Mhm. Dean also says Sam is getting rusty for letting these people jump him and take him.
Mhm.
Now Dean is snooping around to try to find a key. Oh, because the door thing, Dean says, "How do I unlock the door?" And Sam says it has to be with the key when, like, earlier we saw them opening it with nothing. So I who knows?
Yeah, they had gone to that same area when they did earlier too. It's just they
Mm,
didn't, like, show the inner working. They still don't really show how it would work, but
mhm.
it's, like, assumed to be like you put a key in and flip a switch and it, like, undoes it.
Yeah.
Because this is also the point where they do the big reveal of, like, "Oh, this isn't supernatural. This is just they're just people."
Yeah.
Is what Sam, like, tells Dean, like, "Hey, it's just they're just people."
Mhm. Yeah, that does happen. I forgot to write that down.
Which I think is just relevant just because the next line from Dean is fucking amazing, where he just goes, "Demons I get, people are crazy."
Mhm. Except he doesn't know demons
Yeah,
yet. They've only seen one so far, and they know the one that killed their mother, but they know nothing about.
yeah. They should have said vengeful spirits or something, because that's all they ever fight is vengeful spirits.
Yes, or, like, he should have said, like, "Ghosts I get, people are great," like, not
Yeah,
demons.
yeah. Demons specifically you've encountered once.
Mhm. Yes, exactly. And he also while he's snooping around trying to find the key, he also sees, like, people's body parts in jars, and then he sees that they take pictures with all the people that they kill.
Yeah, and he also, like, runs into like, a wind chime made of, like, jawbones or, like, people's bones, which I feel like is a very much a callback to, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is kinda like what this whole episode's kind of based around, because that's a common, like, fixture as well. It's like that hillbilly family who, like, uses the bodies of their victims to, like, make
Mhm.
furniture. Very, like, Ed Gein.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, like, how it is based off of the Bender family, it's also, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Ed
It's the
Gein,
hillbilly cannibal family
um,
trope,
Hills Have
basically.
Eyes, and then, like, that one guy from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Like, they're kind of it's kind of all the same.
Yeah, it's like I said, very common trope of, like, the redneck, backwoods family that just murders people and uses their bodies for things.
Mhm.
Because, like, that's just, like, a common trope
Yeah,
in horror at this point.
exactly. So now Dean is inside their house. It is so gross. It's
Mm.
full of, like, human bones and other body
Like a jar of
parts.
teeth.
Yes. It's super dirty. Things are just, like, falling apart.
Mhm.
And Dean was even able to grab a huge wooden board with a huge nail in it, just casually.
Yeah.
It was just there.
Hey, sometimes you just need a nail board, I guess.
Mhm. He sees the keys and goes to grab them, but then then, yeah, I wrote down he sees the jar of teeth.
Yeah, it's like, "What the hell?"
And as he turns around, he finds Missy standing behind him,
Mhm.
and she stabs Dean's coat to the wall and calls for her dad.
Mhm. After he always tries to beg her off, like, "Shh, don't say anything. Don't do it."
Mhm.
And then she does it.
Yes, any kid would. "You're a
Yeah.
weird man in my house.
Yeah.
Taking my keys." Like,
Taking my jar of teeth.
he put those back. Dean and her 2 brothers are fighting, and he says, "I'm gonna kick your ass first and then yours." And then the dad walks up behind him and hits him with a pot. This is his, like,
Yes.
signature move. He likes
Yeah.
sneaking up behind people.
Yeah, and it's funny too because like, Dean's getting his ass kicked, dude, like, he's getting thrown across the room, and you just hear, like, furniture breaking noises constantly. That made me
Mhm.
laugh. He was just getting his ass, he's like, gets up, he's just like, "I'm gonna kick your ass, then your ass," and gets knocked in the head immediately.
Yes.
Um, One thing I actually did wanna make, when you said, like, it's a signature move, you're not wrong. Even for, like, the
Oh,
Bender family, apparently, that was, like, their signature move.
oh.
Apparently, this whole episode, has basically been based around this family called the Bloody Benders. That's the name why it's called the Benders as well, which is a family of serial killers from Kansas in the 1870s. They were discovered to have murdered many people, and at least 8 of which they buried on their property in like shallow graves. And it was like speculated that they killed their victims by inviting them to be like essentially a guest of honor or such in their inn. So they would have like a nice dinner, and then during the dinner, one of the family members would distract the victim while one of the men snuck up behind them and hit them in the head with a hammer. So, like,
Ow.
either kill them or disorient them or whatever. And then one of the women would come up behind them and slit their throat as well, just to ensure
Oh.
that they died. And then there was like a trap door they discovered like that was near their kitchen table that they assumed they would open up and push the bodies into the basement. And they basically from there, they said that their only motivation was really to like just the thrill of killing people. Like they were just like the true serial
Mhm.
killer of just like for the rush, which is again what these guys do. But they have like a whole like they hunt them because it's fun. You
So,
know, they add that whole extra angle to it.
I didn't look up this family because I asked you to, and I hadn't heard of them before. So I'm surprised that they didn't do the most dangerous game, thing that they're doing in this episode. I thought it was gonna be like that too.
Yeah, it doesn't
Um,
seem like it. And like pretty much all the victims that they found too, where they had their head bashed in and then they had their throat cut. They had like
hmm,
a that's what they did, and it was always that way.
interesting.
And they eventually got caught because there was like an investigator that came basically looking for some people that had gone missing.
Mhm.
And eventually they found his body that was like buried like right below the surface of the ground too. But then they like checked some more places and found more of them after they had like gone back to check on him, and like their whole family was up and gone.
Oh,
Like they just cooked everything and left, and then they eventually were caught. But it was one of those things where like since they had just kind of up and left, they were just had like searched through the house,
mhm.
found these different things,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
eventually found a bunch of bodies.
interesting. Well, it's good they were caught, and it's so scary that that like, the thrill of the kill can be a motivator.
Yeah. It gives you a lot of dopamine, I guess, or like other, feel good drugs because it's like that adrenaline rush, the adrenaline spike.
Yeah, I don't wanna think about that, that's terrifying.
No, it's horrifying. Yeah, absolutely horrifying.
As
That's
much
like they don't have a motivation of anything other than just, it's fun, something to do.
Mhm.
Like, oh,
As much true crime as I listen to, that is usually not the motivator. There's usually a bunch of other reasons. So yeah, that's just terrifying. Now we see Dean tied to a chair, and their brothers ask their dad to let Dean out so they can hunt him because he's a fighter, and they say it's fun, like, more fun
Yeah,
when
'cause he would actually put up a fight.
Mhm. The dad is saying he's hunted his entire life, like animals and humans are the best to hunt.
Mhm,
And he says they give them a weapon and a fighting chance. Now he's asking if Dean is a cop, and he needs to know if any other cops are gonna come looking for him, and he has, like, a hot fire poker, and
mhm.
is now making Dean choose between Sam and Kathleen, or he's gonna put that fire poker in his eye.
Ugh.
Yes. Dean chooses Sam, and I think that's because he thinks Sam could most likely beat them, like a
Mhm,
better chance than Kathleen has. But the old man catches on here that Sam means something to him. So he tells his son to just shoot both of them in their cages and they're not hunting them.
mhm.
And then Dean shows his hand even more because he like panics and he's like, I thought you said they would get a fighting chance. And like
Yeah,
basically,
trying to reason with them.
yes. So the brother, I think this one is Lee. I don't, yeah, it is Lee. Lee opens Sam's cage, and Sam is trying to find a way to defend himself, and then we hear a gunshot. We don't see
Mhm,
what's happening. Then we go back to Dean, and he's saying if they even hurt Sam, he will kill all of them.
mhm.
But luckily for Sam, Lee is apparently a very bad shot and missed Sam in this cage. So Sam
Yeah.
was able to wrestle him to the ground and take over the gun, but it was out of bullets.
Mhm,
But now the dad and the other son are looking for Lee and they find him in the cage, but the lights won't come on. So they can't get him out and they can't see where Sam is.
mhm.
And Sam is just like lurking around the corner, hiding in plain sight. He's like a little ninja here.
Yeah,
Kathleen,
works.
yeah, Kathleen opens and shuts a door to like distract them so like they hear it and go there. And the other brother shoots so many bullets into the door.
I mean, honestly though, dude is that much smarter than you give most of these, like, villains credit for. That's, like, the smart thing to do. Is like, "Okay, I think they're in here. Let's shoot it."
Yeah, but did you have to shoot it that much though?
Hey, it's called a double tap
Or like a
or a quadruple tap.
20 times cap? Like,
Yeah.
geez.
I mean, he's just making sure. Like I said, he's smart for doing that, but he's clearly not that smart 'cause he just, like, unloaded an entire, like, gun into it.
Exactly. But Kathleen was like up in the rafters and she actually jumps on him from above. And, but sadly, he is able to take her over and throw her on the ground.
Mhm.
So Sam calls for his attention. The guy shoots, but Sam ducks and the guy ends up shooting his dad, like, in the
Yeah.
arm, and then Sam puts the other brother in the other cage.
Mhm.
I actually don't think it was his arm, I think it was, like, his ribs or something. It definitely was not
He
a fatal shot.
he got shot to where he was on the ground and hurt, but not dead.
Yes, and Kathleen has the other gun, and Sam is like, "Hey, let's go," and Kathleen's like, "I'm gonna stay here and watch him. You go find Dean."
Yeah, but then it was, like, in a way that was, like, very obvious to Sam as well, I think. He gave her a look that was like, "I understand,"
Yeah,
of
exactly.
like, "We know what's going on here. You're probably gonna kill the guy."
Mhm. She asked him why he killed her brother, and this old man says, "Because it's fun," and just starts, like, laughing, maniacal laughing.
Mhm.
So she shot him
Yeah,
in the face.
shoots him dead.
Yes. Then we see Dean and Sam, and Dean says the girl, he locked her in the closet,
Yeah,
but
he
then
locked her in a closet so he could get away.
yeah, and he's like, "But I'm sure she knows a way out of it." And Kathleen comes up to them and tells them they need to leave and they should duck on the side of the road if they see a squad car coming.
Yeah. Basically, she was like, "Hey, get the hell out of here, and if you see anyone, you're still going to be arrested if I find you again."
Yes.
Basically, just like, "You have one chance to run." And it was funny because like, Dean immediately was like, "Any chance that we can get a ride?" Because we're in the
Mhm.
middle of nowhere, and she's like, "No, you better start walking." Like,
Yes. And
"You're already very lucky I'm not arresting you right now."
and for some reason, I did not include this in my notes, so I need to say it. When Kathleen walks up to them before she even tells them about the squad car stuff, they ask what happened to the dad, and she said, like, he was trying to get away, and
Yeah,
that
she said,
was it.
"I shot him when he was trying to escape."
Yes, and this I wanted to bring it up because it's kind of, like, debated in the community that, 1, if she was justified to make that call, and 2, are the brothers here judging her? Because they do give her a look, and I'm gonna answer first. So, I personally think she was justified, mostly because in any situation, if you're saying like, "Hey, why did you kill my family member?" and they start laughing at you and say, "'Cause it was fun," that's gonna be a very hard reflex to not do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, and then when I watched that scene, I never thought they were judging her. I thought it was a look of, like, understanding, but I can see why people would think it's judgment from them when they literally have no room to judge her because just last episode, Dean wanted to kill the guy, like a human too.
Literally earlier today or earlier, like 5 seconds ago, when Dean was there, and she's like, "If you hurt Sam, I'm going to murder all of you."
Yes.
Like, I don't think he was lying.
No.
Um, but yeah, I don't blame her in the sense of like, yeah, it's a very human response. Like, is it right in the sense of the law and like, everyone deserves their day in court? Sure.
Mhm.
But also these are like serial killer families who just sat there and laughed that they knew that they killed your brother. Like, yeah, fucking dude deserved to get shot in the head like he did. Like, I can't fault anyone for taking that shot because most people would, I think.
Mhm.
Um, you would have to it would take a lot of, like, belief in the system and, like, you know, a lot of controlling one's immediate emotions because that's gotta be really triggering for a lot of emotions.
Yes, like your
So
emotion
I
to
don't
just maybe, like, hit them with the gun or shoot them again somewhere non-fatal and then, like, walk away so the court system can
or just, like,
do.
kick their ass, man, like,
Yeah.
fucking take a finger and stick it in that gun wound, like, dude deserves to scream a little. Um,
Mhm.
like, that might be a little harsh, but you get my point. Like, I wouldn't blame anyone for any of those things because of that. Like, they killed your brother.
Yes, and yeah, and as you said, Dean at least has no room for judging because he would do the same
No,
thing.
and I don't think either of them have room for judging because I think either of them would have done a similar thing. But also, like, I also thought this was weird because, like, when I first watched the episode again and I saw this scene, I thought that too. I'm like, why are they judging her right now? They're like giving her this weird look of judgment. And part of me is like, maybe it was just like acting decision that didn't land. Like they were trying
Mhm,
to get like an empathy look because I could see some empathy, but it was like a mixed with some kinda judginess to me, and I
mhm,
was like, "That's a weird reaction from these guys." Like, I was debating that too before you even told me that it was debated amongst other people too,
mhm.
where I was just like, that is a weird choice. I don't think that they can judge her from here. Like, they don't have room to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like you said, literally last episode, Dean was gonna kill a guy because he was threatening his brother,
Mhm,
and it was just a guy. Like, it was a guy with psychic powers, but it was a guy. Like, it was a
and
human.
and he was like, "That guy has already killed 2 people and wants to kill a third, so we have to take him out."
Yeah, he's a monster, and it's like, okay, but what about this family's monsters? Like, literally, they have
Mhm,
murdered many people. They have, like, 12 cars out there,
yeah.
like
They said they take, like, 2 to 3 people a year, and, like, the guy even said, like, it started with his dad, so it's way more.
yeah. So, it was one of those things where I also thought it was weird, so I just chalked it up to, like, a weird, like, these guys are still kind of young actors too.
Mhm.
They haven't done a ton, and also just like it could just be that it just didn't land right. That's my only guess because them as characters, it makes zero sense for them to have judgment. So I had to assume it was just like an acting thing, like a fact that it's a show caused
Yeah.
an issue because from in universe character wise, there's no shot they're judgy because they can't have that judgment, or if they do, they are hypocrites.
Exactly. And I wouldn't put it past them for being, like, a little hypocritical.
Well, yeah,
But
for sure. They are always have that little bit of hypocrisy of, like, being like, "Oh, we need to, like, save people," but, like, will do literally anything and, like, ruin every kind of, like, one of God's plans and the, end of the
mhm,
world just to save their brother. Like, they would do literally anything. They killed death to, like, not let
mhm,
like, not let them take them away from each other. Like, you killed the concept of death for your brother. Like
yeah.
Y they can't judge anyone for, taking that action for their brother.
No, no.
Like, yeah.
All right. So, and to get the end of the episode, just some fun little banter. Dean tells Sam, "Don't ever do that again, go missing like that." To which Sam smiles and says, "You were worried about me," teasing him like the little brother he is.
Uh-huh.
And since Dean can't have any emotions ever, he says, "All I'm saying is if you vanish like that again, I'm not looking for you."
Which we know is a lie.
Yes, Sam, I
He's
think
just trying
Sam
to be
even
funny.
talked about it like that. And then as the episode is ending, like it's fading out, we hear Sam get to have his moment by calling Dean Rusty for letting a 13-year-old hold him hostage.
Yep, which is great.
Yeah, that was fun. All right, we got to get into our crime counter. Not only do I have this week's, but I also have an addendum from last week because I missed some.
Hey, it's all good.
Yeah. So for this week, we have impersonating an officer twice. So each
Mhm.
time would be about 6 months in
Yeah,
jail. So that's a year there because I did it twice. And then stealing their badge adds about another 6 months. We have a year
huh,
and a half. And that is variable by state and by like your intent and stuff like
yeah.
that. So yeah, we can just add another year and a half to that tally. And then for last week, because we talked about the handgun and it not being like registered and stuff like that. Apparently, handguns don't have to be registered at the state level in some states.
Mhm.
However, they can usually like tack on that it's unregistered during other charges. So like that's if it's a handgun, that's usually not the like first charge. But if they're like, oh, you killed
Yeah,
somebody with it, let's tack on that you didn't
yeah.
register it.
They'll get you for what they can get you for.
Yeah. And we don't know if Dean had scraped off the serial number, so I'm not going to include that, but that is illegal no matter what,
Yeah.
if it's registered or not.
You can't take off a serial number, that's super illegal.
Yes. And we don't know if Dean has a conceal and carry. But I mean, obviously he doesn't because everybody thinks Dean Winchester is dead. But I mean, like
Yeah,
before, we don't know. But we can assume no. But that's just like a lot of assumptions for like the law.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and there wasn't any like intent to do anything bad with that handgun besides self defense. So there's no like crime for
Yeah.
that one. And then I have to add in that Sam, in the very beginning, pretended to be a detective to get the
Mm.
address from the driver, the license plate. So that
I
would
can't believe we
be,
both missed
I know.
that.
So that would be 6 months. It still
Fair enough.
blows my mind that impersonating a police officer is 6 months.
Yeah.
You'd think more people would do it 'cause it's not a very long time. All right. So our episode review is story and pacing. We both gave it a 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice episode. It was, like, in the sense of, like, it was very, like, well structured. I like the cut back and forth. It made a lot of sense. It got resolved and
Mhm.
wrapped up. I like that this one also felt good in the sense of it wrapped up in a way that didn't feel rushed. like a
Yes.
lot of other episodes where it's like, "Oh, monster's here, fire. Oh, he's dead. Okay, great. Everyone's done this. Talk to the cops, make sure everything's good to go." Well, this one was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, they actually like fight back and forth. Dean gets caught, then he gets put into it, then they fight back, and then they fight back some more, and then like, there's actually like a
Mhm.
struggle that felt like it culminated well and made sense. Like especially with like the dad getting shot and then like them losing. Like, it
Yeah.
makes sense. And it like was clean, it was good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. For monster lore, we both gave it a 1. For me, it's because there was literally no monster and there was no
Where is my
lore.
supernatural in my supernatural show? If I wanted to watch a cop drama, I'd watch SVU. That's all this episode was a cop drama. There was no lore. The only lore was this family liked to kill people, and it was like, eh.
They
Like,
don't
I
ha
like the whole like, the worst monster is people. Like, I like that trope in a lot of, like, stories,
Mhm.
like, that people are, like, the actual monsters, but also, like, shows called Supernatural. Like, I'm expecting something supernatural.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this one was just very, like, eh, in that department.
I agree. We also like, they don't even say their names are the
Yeah,
Bender family, because so the title is also confusing. Because when you see Benders, it's like, "Oh, we just had an episode about telekinesis last week. So is
yeah,
it happening again? Is, like, the Avatar coming? Like, what is
yeah,
happening?" And then you just see, like, people, and you're like, "Okay, but why is it called the Benders?"
yeah. And they don't go into like, I
No.
gave you guys more lore about what the Benders did and who they were than the show did.
Yes.
Like, because from our perspective, the show is just this is just a creepy family. That's it.
Mhm.
Like, that's all we get.
And they say, like, they've always hunted and humans are fun.
Yeah.
That's it.
So they didn't even, like, explain themselves very well. So it was just like, one. It's not a good monster episode at all.
No, because even if they wanted to do the human being the monster, because I feel like they do this later again in the series,
Mm,
and, like, I feel like it just needs to have a little bit more context to it, like, as to why
yeah.
they're doing it. This just didn't have very much.
Yeah, even, like, the scariest character, like, the most, like, compelling character was Misty, and she, like, didn't do much either.
No.
So,
So, for character development, I gave it a 2.
I put a
Mm.
1. It's just we learned that Dean has a desire to be, like, a parent to Sam and make sure he's safe, and it's like, yeah, we knew that.
Mhm. That's true, we did know that. I liked that extra little vulnerability he
Mhm.
gave, so that's why I gave it a 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see giving it a bump up for that. I was just being very, like, pessimistic about it in that sense. I was just like, it was this episode's really pointless. So,
For visual and direction, we both gave it a 4. It did have really good, like,
the
cinematography and
atmosphere of
atmosphere, yeah.
the house was real good. The whole place just felt muddy and dirty, and, like, all the bones and all the things like that, I thought was a nice touch. The jar of teeth, it's just like, they did a good job of the set to make this feel creepy. And then
Yes.
it made, like, Missy and, like, the brothers and stuff feel creepier
Mhm.
because of the environment you're in. Like, they did a good job with that. I will give them a lot of credit for making it feel like that Texas Chainsaw, like, oh, something's not this is not a good place to be."
Yes, agreed. Emotional impact, I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 2.
I I just gave it a 3. That's, like, middle, like, it's not that I didn't feel anything. I also felt some stuff, so I was just like, "We're gonna go to the middle."
Yeah, that's why I gave it a 2. I just gave it a little bit less because, like I said, there wasn't really a ton of development or, like, it didn't make me feel any type of way. Only thing I did was, like I said, I felt empathetic towards the people that lost their family to these guys, and, like, I felt bad for them, but, like, it didn't, like, resonate strong enough for me to give it anything other than, like, a 2.
Mhm, mhm, makes sense. For rewatchability, I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 1.
Yeah.
That 1 could be a little unfair, could be better about, like, a 2 maybe. I'd probably feel a little better about it. Um, this episode's fine. It doesn't do anything. The episode's like I said, it's pointless. This episode is entirely pointless.
Mhm.
So and it just, like I go into Supernatural wanting supernatural. So,
Yeah.
like, the whole it being just people, like, just a random ass family that they just happen to get kidnapped by, didn't do anything for me. So it's like, I don't really wanna watch this episode again.
No, that's totally fair. I think I gave it a 3 because, like, it is easy to watch
Yeah,
and, like, it is fun for what it is. It's just not very on topic.
agreed. I'll give you that for sure. That's why I said I feel probably might probably be bumped to a 2. I'd probably be more happy with it. Because like, I wouldn't be upset about watching this, but it wouldn't be like, I'm upset if I watch Bugs again. I'm upset if I watch, Dead in the Water again. I
Bugs.
just actively don't want to watch those 2. This one probably better at, like, a 2, where it's like, it's fine,
Mhm.
but I don't I don't care to watch it again.
Yeah, exactly. And for Salt and Sass, we both gave it a 3. There's some good banter, but
The banter makes the episode remotely worth watching.
yeah, yes, it's good. Um, Dean and Kathleen had some very good chemistry
Yeah,
with
I
their
agree.
banter. So my average score was a 2.86 out of 5.
The amount was 2.29, so combined ends up being about 2.57. But right bang in the middle of a 2s, 2.5.
Mhm.
Let us know what you guys think. What do you agree with us on our scores? Do you think we were a little too harsh? Do you think we were too generous? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Alrighty then. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode, season 1, episode 15, The Benders. Thank you for joining us this week as we explored a middle nowhere town with a family that murdered people. Next week, we will be encountering a familiar face or two, wink wink, and some shadowy spirits. So, whenever you're ready, we'll see you in the archive. Goodbye.
Bye.